You got to be kidding me? Chapter 11, Trapped in Bel Air. I woke up on a Sunday morning in my bed and felt something sharp in my underwear. When I put my hand down there to see what it was, I found my Invisalign. It was Emmy weekend. The previous night I had gone out with 3 of my girlfriends to one of the Emmy parties that are thrown every year. I had left the party around midnight and came home to my house, which was empty because my lesbian was off gallivanting with her new lover. Prince's also a lesbian. After I danced alone in front of the mirror in my bedroom for close to 45 minutes, I decided to go through all of my old photo albums, and I found some very insightful pictures. At around 1:30, I felt my Xanax kicking in, and like any responsible adult, I got into bed. Then I heard my driveway gate open, heard a car in my driveway, and saw the beams of light eking through my window shades. It was exactly the way I'd always seen my life ending, being murdered and raped in my own home after dancing alone. This is it, I thought. This is the end. I pulled down my eye shades and willed myself to go to sleep. If I'm going to get raped and killed, I was intent on sleeping through it. The next morning when I woke up alive, I ran through the sequence of events, trying to figure out why my Invisalign was in my underwear. I deduced that I hadn't, in fact, tried to go down on myself, but had put my mouthpiece in my underwear as a protective shield / bite plate against whoever was going to attack me. Every Sunday morning I played tennis at 10, so I had no time to ruminate. It was onward and upward. I sauntered downstairs and fed both dogs. I didn't notice any foul play until I walked outside to my driveway and saw that my car was missing. Aha! I knew I wasn't crazy. Someone had actually broken through my security gate and stolen my car. I would have to call the police after tennis and file a report. I reasoned that the lease was up on my Bentley, so the responsibility of finding the perpetrators might not even be on my shoulders. I walked down the driveway and across the street to play tennis on my neighbor's court. When I returned from tennis, I noticed that my friend Schmidtney's Mercedes SUV was in my driveway behind where my car would normally be. I hadn't noticed earlier because I must have been more focused on the fact that my driveway had been vandalized. I realized that she must have left her car at my house the night before when she came over to get ready with me. My driver, Billy, had picked us up from the house and taken us to the party. Schmidtney's SUV was blocking the only other 2 modes of transportation available, lesbian Shelley's Mercedes and her Harley Davidson. I called Schmidtney, wondering how I was supposed to get out of my house if she was blocking the only car left in my driveway and my Bentley had been stolen. She didn't answer her phone, which she never does. Instead, she will text you back while you're in the middle of leaving her voicemail, and will tell you that she's in a business meeting or in therapy and will call you in an hour. When she did call me an hour later, we reviewed the night's events, and then she asked me why I had left the party so early. Because no one at the party was dancing, I told her. So where'd you go? She asked, laughing. Back to my house so I could dance in peace. That was for the best, she admitted. By the way, I have your Bentley. You have my Bentley? Why? 'Cause I came back to your house last night after you left me at the party, and every door was locked, and you were already sleeping. That's fine, I said, relieved, and have to interact with the FBI. But why wouldn't you just take your own car? Because my key was in your house and the doors were all locked. Then how did you get the key to my car? I asked her. The key was in your car. key was in my car, I asked. Yes. Well, that does sound like something I would do, and stealing my car sounds like something you would do. And then there's a very energetic looking word on the page, which looks to be laughter. And she said, cackling, "Do you need your car?" Schmidtney laughs all the time when no one else is laughing. I do this too, but I find it more annoying than she does. Well, I'll need my car at some point, I told her, but I guess I can just bring your car to you and switch it out. I'm hungry, and I want a margarita. Great, why don't you head over here and we can grab lunch? Alright, I told her I'll do that. Okay, great. Would you want to go spinning before? There's a class that I love, which is just around the corner. No, Schmidtney, are you not listening to me? I already played tennis today, and I wouldn't want to go spinning even if I hadn't played tennis. This must have been the 10th time Schmidtney had brought up spinning in the past 3 months. I had explained to her on several occasions that I prefer one-on-one supervision when any sort of coordination is involved. Schmidtney's problem is that she doesn't listen, and she never shuts the fuck up. She is running on fumes and can't sit still for longer than 10 minutes. She'll eat chicken like Brittany Murphy's character in Girl Interrupted. She's constantly gnawing on chicken or salmon, and she always smells like one or the other. She loves to go to Al-Anon meetings and talk about Al-Anon and talk about sobriety and talk about enabling and all the other fascinating things that go along with that. She excels at over-examining every part of the human psyche, and she will send me daily healing messages from some book called The Language of Letting Go, Daily Meditations on Codependency. I've had to tell her repeatedly to stop sending me daily messages about patience and loving myself. I don't mind them once in a while, I warned her, but it can't be a regular thing. If Schmidtney had her druthers, she'd spend all day in transcendental meditation doing EMDR therapy to retrieve the childhood she claims she lost to alcoholism and drug addiction. I don't believe she has ever done drugs, and I know for a fact she doesn't drink a respectable amount of alcohol. Not enough to have ever had a drinking problem. Why would I make that up? She'll ask me defensively when I tell her that she knows nothing about drugs or alcohol, except for what she's gleaned from her alcoholic family members and myself. I have no idea, Schmidtney, I'll tell her. I don't know why anyone would pretend to do drugs. Chelsea, she'll exclaim, I didn't drink because of my sitcom. I don't want my eyes to get puffy. For those of you who aren't familiar with Schmidtney's sitcom, it was on NBC for 2 seasons and it was called Schmidtney. It wasn't great. Regardless, anyone with a real affinity for alcohol doesn't just stop drinking for 9 months at a time because they're on TV. Maybe once or twice a week, but a 9-month run of sobriety isn't practical or plausible for someone with a real hankering for cocktails. We hung up and I went downstairs to my kitchen to look for her car key. I'm well aware of the fact that I'm not good at finding things, but her key was nowhere to be found. I looked through everything in my kitchen twice, and then I ate a banana. In my ongoing effort to become more self-sufficient, I had ceased having my cleaning lady or any other employees come to my house on the weekends, so there was no one to help me look. I did one last sweep, cognizant of the fact that I had forgotten what I was looking for after the second sweep. I called Schmidtney again and asked her if she had gone anywhere in my house besides my kitchen. Did you go upstairs? No, I left it on her kitchen counter. It's a single Mercedes key. Oh, thank you. I thought it would be a Volvo car key. How stupid do you think I am? Pretty fucking stupid. Just keep looking. It's somewhere. I left it somewhere in the kitchen. That doesn't sound like you. That sounds like something I would do. It's there somewhere. Just call me after tennis, she said, trying to get off the phone. I just finished tennis. Okay, let me call you back, she said. No, I wailed. It's fine if you have my car, but I need to know where your key is, Schmidtney. Who takes someone else's car and then blocks the only other car in the driveway and doesn't leave the fucking key to their car? Tell me. Who? Schmidtney, answer me. Let me make sure I don't have it. I'll call you right back, she said. I looked around my house and wondered what I should do next. I walked outside to my pool and threw a tennis ball across my backyard. Neither dog flinched. I walked back inside and saw the empty dog bowls on the kitchen floor. I picked them both up and loaded them into the dishwasher. There's no reason I shouldn't use this opportunity to do some housework, I thought. When I couldn't find the dishwashing detergent, I took the bowls out, went into the laundry room, and threw them into the washing machine. I added some laundry detergent and hit spin cycle. I looked at my pool and thought about jumping in, but I didn't feel like putting on a bathing suit or getting my hair wet. I decided to roll a few calls instead. I called Brad and invited him and his wife Shannon to brunch with the caveat that I would need a ride to the restaurant. They were busy and instead invited me to the Santa Monica Beach Club, where they were members. Beach clubs don't have enough diversification for me. No thanks, I said, and hung up. It then occurred to me that I didn't need a bathing suit in the privacy of my own home, and that I could swim nude if I wanted to, but skinny dipping alone sounded like something Shirley MacLaine would do. So I sat in my backyard on the cement ledge that separates the pool from the lawn. I called my sister Simone to get an update on her single life, and I was getting a play-by-play of her latest online lover when my sprinklers went off. I screamed as the cold water sprayed me in the face and left my whole body damp. What's wrong? Is it a snake? Simone asked, panicking. Nothing, I said, walking inside, defeated. I stayed on the phone and went upstairs to change my clothes. The sound of the sprinklers always makes me have to pee, so I went into my bathroom, sat on the toilet, and peed. That was when I realized in the middle of all the mayhem, I had forgotten to take off my underwear. Oh, God, I moaned. What the fuck? What's wrong now? Simone asked, in a slightly more irritated tone. I just peed and forgot to take off my underwear. Are you outside? No, why would I be outside? I don't know, Chelsea. It wouldn't be that outside the box for you to be peeing outside at your own house. No pun intended. What is wrong with me? I wailed, trying to remove my underwear while sitting on the toilet and listening to her story. She finished and then told me that Rex was in NYC for the week and that she was going to dinner with him on Wednesday. I may get a hotel room, she said, for me and Rex. My newly divorced sister was officially juggling men, and that made me have to get off the phone. Can I call you later? I asked, looking around my bathroom and landing on a big framed quote that read, "What matters most is the company you keep when you're alone." Molly called me moments later. Everything okay? She asked. Why? No reason, just wondering what you're doing. I knew Simone had called Molly because there is a round-the-clock guardian conservatorship between Molly, Shelley, Simone, and about 30 others. Molly, Sue, and Shelley are the serving board members, and There are different tiers beneath them in case any of them are out of town. They work in shifts and they think I don't know about it, but I do. They check in on me on a regular basis because everyone knows if I were left to my own devices, I could die. Gina had spent the day at my house yesterday, getting me ready for the Emmy parties, which was silly, since I didn't really need hair and makeup for the parties. I've never been nominated for an Emmy in my life, and I was going only to a party for the Emmys, not the actual Emmys. Then Schmidtney came over to tag Gina out and babysit me for the rest of the night. Sundays are usually Molly's shift when Shelley is out of town. If I am left unattended for too long, people start showing up at my house, so Molly's call wasn't completely unexpected. Well, Molly. Not to sound like an alarmist, but Schmidtney stole my car and said she would be here about an hour ago, but she is a liar. I need to get to Hotel Bel Air. Do you need me to come and get you? Are you coming to brunch? I can come to brunch. Can I bring Carrie? Carrie is Molly's sister and also my cousin. Yes. So, should we come get you? She asked again. I don't know because she won't answer her phone, but she keeps texting me that she's 15 minutes away. Well, I'll come over that way, and if she gets there first, then just call me. Okay. I hung up the phone and checked my texts. There was one from Schmidtney. Do you want to come over and go on a bike ride? No, I responded. Where the fuck are you? I'm 15 away, she texted back. Had to drop off my friend from spin class. I almost ate my phone. There was no way Schmidtney would make it from Burbank all the way to Bel Air in 15 minutes. I drive like a maniac, and I've never made it from Bel Air to Burbank in 15 minutes. And I happen to drive there almost every day for work. Even though I lie compulsively, I don't appreciate being lied to, especially when it involves what time I'm going to be picked up. I don't like being late, and I don't like being picked up late. I went into the kitchen to look again for her car key, and then saw Shelley's Mercedes key. I was such an idiot for not putting this together before. Mercedes-Benz had been ahead of the curve since they were making ovens for the Holocaust. It was highly probable that the key to Shelley's Mercedes would also work in Schmidtney's Mercedes. I was wrong. Strike 4. I needed to find the number to Hotel Bel Air and see if they could pick me up. I looked through my kitchen cabinets for a phone book and gave up on that project shortly after I started. Instead, I decided to make better use of my time. I made the executive decision to use my time wisely and make an online dating profile for my makeup artist, Gina. If my sister was having such success online, then there is no good reason Gina shouldn't also be reaping the benefits of internet penetration. I got my computer and went over to my purse on my dining room table. I got my credit card out, sat down, and got focused. This was going to take a while. My makeup artist Gina hadn't been penetrated in something like 5 or 10 years, and I could hear it in her voice. I desperately wanted her to meet someone, or at least get felt up. She's one of those people who thinks she's too cool to meet anyone online, so I was going to have to take it upon myself to do the legwork. Plus, she's a terrible speller. So if she ever could be convinced to date online, she'd only attract other elementary school graduates. I looked on Match.com's questionnaire page, and it seemed a little too gay to me. So I googled popular dating sites and clicked on the first one that popped up. I filled out all the pertinent information required to join the site and gave my email address as the contact so that I would be the one filtering any matches and corresponding with potential candidates. First, I had to come up with what is called a profile headline in 35 characters or less. After that came a series of questions that included multiple options to choose from, or I could ignore that part and write my own answers. I opted to utilize my creative writing skills. Profile headline: 50, fun, flirty, fresh, fish lover, fruit lover, famine hater, looking for laughter, sex, and fresh food. About yourself: love to laugh and love to be in funny situations. Like my morning coffee with the paper and like to mingle. About yourself: animal lover, have 2 dogs, 2 chickens. I ride horses every morning at my neighborhood barn, but haven't ridden a man in years. I also love to cook, travel, ski, hike. Love the outdoors, love to garden, am not a great speller. Habits and lifestyles: I have been married and have a 14-year-old son, have a good relationship with my ex, and we share custody. I'm a professional makeup artist and hairstylist with a steady job that I love. My boss says I come across as a bitch, but that I am really not. Looking for a solid guy with a solid career who also likes good wine, food, movies, travel. I work out regularly as well. Love to spin. Type of relationship I'm looking for: would like to find a quality person to spend time with. Not looking for marriage, but want to be in a serious, committed relationship. Religion: other. Ethnicity: raised in California. Heritage: Italian. In parentheses, I'm adopted. Smoker: no. Drinking: not often, but enjoy wine with food. Height: 5 feet 9 inches. Marital status: I have already covered this above, and if anyone reading this is indeed married, please do not contact me. Employment: fully self-sufficient, but could get fired any day. Education: makeup artist. Children: 1 son, 14. Body type: tell you later. My phone rang and it was Schmidtney. Let me guess. You're 15 minutes away, I told her. You're such a child. Do you want me to pick up anything on the way? She asked. There was nowhere to shop between my house and hers. I'm going to take an Uber. What's their number? Shut up. I'll be there in like 20 minutes. You can't handle Uber. There's a better chance of you picking up a weekend cashier shift at Walmart. Well, maybe if you would get your bony ass over here and stop saying you're 15 minutes away, I wouldn't have to say things like Uber or Groupon. She howled and hung up on me again. I looked back at my computer, and the next step was to fill out what Gina was seeking. In quotes. Seeking: a man who reads, likes to travel, and has his own life. Someone who loves to laugh and can make himself laugh because I'm not funny at all. Age range you are seeking: 18 through 99. Seeking height: 4 feet through 7 feet 11 inches. Weight: nothing over 200 pounds unless you are over 6 feet. Ideal man: athletic, financially sound, outdoorsy, masculine, no wimpy bullshit. There were too many questions, and I felt like I had already summed up the basics, so I skipped to the end. Ideal first date: waking up early on football Sunday, making my signature homemade chili recipe, and getting to suck dick while the game is on. I would have to have Molly upload Gina's photo later that afternoon, but at least I would be able to get her profile up and running. I needed to get out of my house, so I grabbed my sunglasses and the paper and walked outside to my driveway. It was then that I realized it would have been nearly impossible to get my Bentley out without having first moved Schmidtney's Mercedes. One would have had to physically pick up my Bentley and throw it over Schmidtney's car. I walked down my driveway and down to the corner of my street, where I found a nice cool spot in the shade and sat on a corner of the cement perimeter of someone's garden bed. Just as I flipped the paper over to read the Sunday Review, a pickup truck blaring heavy metal music made a sharp right turn at about 30 miles an hour, driving over a puddle that I hadn't noticed was directly in front of me. The puddle was brown, and then so was my face. I sat on the corner, stunned, as I typically do when I'm humiliated, wondering if someone was filming me. I don't mean to sound like a narcissist, but I have a hard time believing these kinds of things happen to other people. I got myself together and hiked back up my incredibly steep driveway in what was now boiling hot sun. I walked inside and back up to my bedroom to wash my face and change my clothes for the second time that day. It wasn't even 1 p.m. My phone kept dinging, and it was notifying me that I was getting several winks for Gina's profile. It was already working. Gina was going to find love because Schmidtney stole my car. I called Schmidtney again to ask her if she was even coming at all. She didn't answer, but texted me back 15 away. I walked back down the driveway and back to the corner I had been assaulted on to survey Gina's future paramours. The men responding weren't exactly winners, and every one of them had facial hair and was holding a fish. I thought it was impressive that in the time I had created Gina's profile, these guys had managed to go and catch a striped bass. They were seriously trying to impress her, and even I had to have compassion for them. My phone rang again, and this time it was Molly. Is she there yet? No. She's been saying she's coming for 3 hours. As we were talking, a red SUV turned on my street, zipped past me, and then turned around and headed back in my direction. Once in front of me, the car stopped and the driver turned the engine off. Oh, shit. Someone was going to shoot me right here on the streets of Bel Air. I froze. I couldn't believe I was going to get shot right on the corner of my street while innocently reviewing a dating site. I put my hands in the air and waited to be shot in the face. A woman got out of the car and a 9-year-old got out of the passenger seat. A family shooting spree. I'm so sorry, the woman said as she closed her car door. I really hate to bother you, but we live up the street, and I promised myself I would never do this, but my daughter's a huge fan. I would never normally do this. Would you mind if I got a picture of the two of you? I asked her daughter what her name was. She told me her name and then asked me what mine was. I glared at the mother as I took my glasses off and fake smiled. This woman had just used her innocent daughter in a ploy to get a photograph with someone on the E-network, and she wasn't even Armenian. Once our photo shoot had concluded, I lifted the phone back up to my ear. Are you on the street? Molly asked me. Yes. Why? I'm not really sure. Okay, I'm on my way, she told me. Go back to your house. I'm going to end my friendship with Schmidtney when she gets here, I told Molly, as I followed her instructions and headed back toward my house. The next text from Schmidtney sent was this. I have Ramona in the car. Can she stay at the house with your dogs? Ramona was Schmidtney's new pit bull puppy and a nightmare. What white person gets a pit bull? On top of that, she'd taken the dog to a vet earlier in the week and found out that Ramona was possibly half Great Dane. Only I would have that luck. So I didn't believe her when she told me that either. This fell right in line with her tall tales of being a drug-addled teenager in recovery. Her bringing Ramona over meant that I would be walking down my driveway once again. My driveway is like a miniature version of the stairs at Machu Picchu. This is how I was sitting moments later when Schmidtney pulled up, laughing riotously. There's a picture of Chelsea giving the finger. "How do you drive this beast?" she yelled out my car window, trying to pull up my driveway, lurching the car forward and backward as she waited for the gate to open. "That's not really the point," I told her, punching in the gate code. "The point is it's Sunday, and every Sunday I go to Hotel Bel Air for brunch and have my margarita there. Today is Sunday, and I don't want that dog in my house." "And how is it possible that you don't know how to make a margarita?" Schmidtney yelled. The half-Great Dane, half-Pit Bull dog jumped out of my car and onto my driveway and lunged toward me. I couldn't run from the dog fast enough because of the steepness of my driveway, so I ended up falling into the embankment between my driveway and my gate. This was exactly where I had seen the snake in my driveway a year earlier. Schmidtney was filming all of this on her iPhone while hysterically laughing. Ramona wouldn't stop licking me while also gnawing on my hand that was trying to push her away from me. Schmidtney's dog was just as much of a lunatic as she was. I hate that dog. Schmidtney had put the car in park, and she stood at the side of my driveway, filming me at close range. I finally was able to get myself back up on my feet with no help from her. I pushed her out of the way, got back in my car, and drove it up my driveway, since driving up my driveway happens to be one of the few things I excel at. I went inside to my backyard and closed all of the doors I normally keep open for my dogs when I'm not home. My dogs will easily attack an intruder as long as they're not sleeping. I told her I didn't think her dog would survive in my backyard and that I didn't trust pit bulls. Then Ramona peed on my boot. I didn't change this time. We met my cousins Molly and Carrie at lunch at Hotel Bel Air, where Schmidtney and I proceeded to argue about what had taken place that morning and whose version of events were accurate. "You have no idea what I was dealing with," she told my cousins, explaining that her friend she had taken to spin class was in AA and apparently freaked out when she heard she'd be having brunch with me. "I've got one alcoholic who's in recovery and one who needs a margarita," Schmidtney told them, holding her hands to her head. I felt like I was on the set of Sophie's Choice. "My mom's going on a road trip," Molly announced, taking off her sunglasses. "And she asked us to get her a gun for protection," Carrie interjected. "Wait, what?" Schmidtney asked. "Oh, dear." I took a sip of my margarita. "What's her problem now?" "Well, she says she's out of money. She's sold all of her furniture, and the lease to her apartment is up," Molly informed me. "She says she's excited about moving, but we don't believe her," Carrie added. "We're wondering if you can just ask her to stay at your house. It's kind of like a groundskeeper while we try and get her a new apartment. All the kids are chipping in and we can afford something, but we don't want her to leave in the first place because we're worried she may not come back, especially since she's asking for a gun." For the record, my aunt is exactly the type of person who would drive off into the woods and shoot herself. She's not even 60, but has 9 children, 3 grandchildren, and a pain in the ass of a husband whom she can't afford to divorce. So they just live apart and don't speak. She is my mother's sister, and she told me when I moved to LA that if I wanted to make it in show business, I was going to have to drop some weight. She also let me live with her for a year until I could afford my own apartment. Well, we can't let her do that, I told my cousin. She may never come back. We already suggested that she be your groundskeeper, but she said she doesn't want any more handouts from you. She feels like a loser. But what if we make it a job? She said she will not move in with you. She claims she really wants to go on this road trip. I picked up my phone and called my realtor, Anne. I told her we needed a house in the valley, and being that it was Sunday, there would be plenty of open houses. "We're going house hunting," I exclaimed in delight, hanging up the phone. Finally, the tides were turning. "Well, we don't really need you to buy her a house," Molly said, exchanging nervous glances with Carrie. "No, Chelsea, that's a little ridiculous. We are happy to pay for an apartment," Carrie agreed. "No, I'm in the mood to house hunt. Let's do it." "This is perfect. Chelsea has 2 margaritas and wants to go house hunting. I'm not going to miss this for the world," Schmidtney announced. "You want to make a bet?" I said. "You are on probation. You are not coming anywhere with us, and, to be quite honest, I'm not sure our friendship is strong enough to survive this." "Well then, I guess now's a good time to tell you that I had the key the entire time, but I didn't want you to freak out." Molly jumped up and pinned my arms to my side while Carrie and Schmidtney sat hysterically laughing. If I wasn't at the Hotel Bel Air in plain public view, I would have choked her, but instead took my iPhone and smacked it into the side of my own head. "You are infuriating," I said, as menacingly as I could with Molly sitting on top of me. I ordered some margaritas to go, paid the bill, and Molly, Carrie, and I drove to the valley. And then there's a photo underneath of Chelsea at an open house. Sotheby's International Realty. It says Wish on it, and open Sunday 2 to 5. Then under it there's a little caption. "This is the house we found that day, and my aunt moved in 35 days later. She never went on that road trip, and we never gave her a gun." Later that night, while I was online responding to some of Gina's suitors, I got a video from Schmidtney of her urinating in my driveway the night of the Emmy party when she came back to my locked house and stole my car. Schmidtney's version of events. So I get to Chelsea's house at like 2 a.m. Her door is locked and my key is inside. I decide not to knock because Chelsea sleeps in white 80s cross your heart bra, and I'm too tired to process that right now. I also just really want to get out of there because Chelsea's house is a hazard. She has 2 ish dogs. Chunk, who's become a complete asshole since he got 1 million Twitter followers, and Jax, who just had surgery and has a cone on his head, and sometimes another one who looks like Falcor on crack. When they run to the door, it's like the zombies from a Thriller video are coming at you. Other possible dangers include Chelsea's lesbian roommate, who is very strong. Parentheses, I learned that the hard way. Close parentheses. And snakes in her driveway. Some real and some imagined by Chelsea. Basically, I just want to get the fuck away from this house of cards that Chelsea calls a home. My car is blocking in her other cars, and the only car that could be liberated from this mess is the Bentley. On an optimistic whim, I check to see if it's unlocked. Not only is it unlocked, but the key is in it. This is either a trap or a miracle. So I took it. I'm from Washington, D.C. Where I come from, if you want someone else's car, you take it. I wake up Sunday morning with 3 missed calls from Chelsea, 2 of them FaceTime invites, because she has no idea how to work her iPhone. When we finally connect, she yells, "I'm trapped in my house and I need a margarita." First of all, it's noon, and second of all, we know Chelsea is a Luddite, but to not be able to make her own margarita is just pathetic. The only thing sadder than needing a margarita at noon is not being able to make one yourself, especially considering the fact that her fridge is stocked with Skinny Girl margaritas. She can't even make a pre-made margarita. The problem is that Chelsea has been infantilized by having assistants for so long. Everything is done for her, so she doesn't know how to do anything herself anymore. For example, in her fridge, she has clear Tupperware containers of cut up fruit and vegetables, and they're labeled with little signs that say pineapple and watermelon, etc. I started getting really worried about her when I realized that she can't even figure out what pineapple looks like. So I tell her I'm on my way over because honestly I'm worried about her safety. If you think Chelsea's a danger to herself drunk, you should see her sober. I rush over to her place to find her, middle finger blazing, waiting outside of her house, angry and moist. It becomes abundantly clear that this is the longest Chelsea has waited for anything in years. She was reading the newspaper, yet another sign that she can't do anything herself. She thinks people still get the news from newspapers. In the past 45 minutes, she had been humiliated by getting splashed with mud, being asked for a photo by someone who didn't even know who she was, and to honor the comedy rule of threes, my puppy got out of her car and instantly peed on her foot, which Chelsea probably thought was pineapple. She also claimed to buy someone a home that day, but knowing Chelsea, she accidentally went to the valley, got drunker, and bought a house so she wouldn't have to drive back. By the way, Chelsea still has an AOL account. A week later, Carrie, Molly, and I surprised my aunt with her new house. One of the best days of my life. My aunt was in tears when she asked me if this meant she now had to be nice to me. No, I said, jumping up and down, bawling. You never have to speak to me again. With that chapter over, it was time to focus on Gina's love life. I received several responses to Gina's profile on her new dating site. It became a bit annoying when my phone would go off every time someone winked at her. The problem was the men who were responding. All the responses I had gotten regarding Gina's new online profile revealed a common theme. Every guy was on a boat, some with handlebar mustaches, some without, but all holding large fish on fishing poles. I sat there for a week trying to convince Gina that all these men were going out of their way to catch fish just to woo her, because that was in her profile, but she didn't budge. I'm not going out with the man who has a handlebar mustache. Why do they all have facial hair? Did you write that I wanted that? It was a fair question, especially since many of them were actually bald. So, in an honest attempt to double check my work, I logged back onto her profile to see if I accidentally put bald under likes. I then discovered that I had signed Gina up on a fisherman's website, seacaptaindate.com. Whoopsie. I revealed this news to Gina as delicately as I could, while also admitting that I didn't have the emotional capacity to enlist her on another dating website. I had invested a week of my time and energy into carefully eliminating all red flags and potential rapists. I just don't have it in me, I confessed. Every time one of these losers winks at you, my phone beeps, and I have no idea how to disable that feature. If you want, I'm happy to buy you that horse you've been riding. And whatever happens behind closed doors is your business. And there's a picture of Gina standing next to a giant horse, wrapped with a big red bow around it. And then underneath it says, Gina ended up getting her horse after all, and since then they have been in a monogamous relationship. And then on the next page, there's a picture of her and Shauna in 1979. And then Martha's Vineyard with my 2 lesbian sisters. And then a photo of just Chelsea. And under that it says, "This is a picture of me, age 3, that I took with me when I was 19 and left New Jersey for California. I put it in one of those cheap little plastic picture frames that have magnets on the back and have stuck it on every refrigerator in every apartment or house I've lived in since. About a year ago, it fell off the refrigerator when I was looking for some chicken wings, and I noticed my mother's handwriting on the back. The right-hand corner was dated July 4, 1978, and it said, 'The face of an angel, the mind of a devil, and a heart of gold. Your mother will always love you. Love, Mommy.'" And then the book ends with some hot travel tips. Contrary to popular belief, it is not necessary to be topless for emergency dental work when abroad. It is possible to chip your tooth while eating gummy bears when a plane is landing. Dolphin rape is a very real thing. There are certain countries, France, that have microwaves that actually air condition the food instead of heating it. Be aware of this when handling quiche or pizza. There is nothing more frustrating than taking a bite of what you think is going to be a warm piece of quiche and then chipping your tooth. Mixing Metamucil with vodka will be successful in helping you go to the bathroom, but your timing should be strategic if staying with a friend. Once you clog someone's toilet, they have a hard time remembering anything about you other than you clogging their toilet. If you don't already know how to surf, don't try to learn. It's humiliating. Kobe beef is not named after Kobe Bryant. Do not make this mistake. When going through security, always pretend you are innocent and frail, even if the person perusing your passport or boarding pass has an afro and a ponytail. If you are a drinker, always use a pseudonym when booking hotels. None of us ever really know what kind of mess we're going to leave behind, and there's no sense in getting banned from a resort you respect. It's safest not to travel during a leap year. The saying that money doesn't buy you happiness is true, but it sure as fuck helps. When hooking up abroad, be aware. Any man who tries to convince you that most guys have one ball will most likely have only one ball himself. One ball is as likely as a blind robber, a gay one. And last but not least, go for it. Go wherever you can afford to go, with whomever you can get to go with you. The end.